The regular meeting of the City Council was held in person on Thursday, October 17th, 2024 at 7 o'clock p.m. for the purpose of transacting any and all business. Notice this meeting was posted on October 15th, 2024 at 1:35 p.m. This meeting is being recorded and is live on SATV and Zoom unless technological issues interrupt the transmission. Councilors absent, Councilor Stott, Councilor Krasniewski, Councilor Varela. Council President Hapworth presided. Councilor Davis moved to dispense with the reading of the record of the previous meeting. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. President Hapworth requested that everyone please rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilor Cohen. Salem City Council honors this land as Namkeg, or fishing place, where generations of Namkeg people from the Pawtucket Band of the Massachusetts tribe lived and passed through for centuries. We acknowledge this as unceded indigenous land and also acknowledge the Massachusetts tribe who continue to honor and hold this land into the present. Salem City Council is committed to having ongoing meaningful dialogue with indigenous peoples who have presence in Salem in order to dismantle legacies of oppression and inequities that persist today. Public testimony. Public testimony is not to exceed 15 minutes. Public testimony is not a public hearing or question and answer period. Sign-up must occur 30 minutes prior to the meeting. The president shall, depending on the number of speakers, set a time limit not to exceed 3 minutes, which each individual presenting testimony must abide. We have one person signed up tonight, so that person has 3 minutes, and it is Veronica Miranda.
Hello, everybody. My name is Veronica Miranda, 9 Garden Terrace, Salem, Mass. I've walked through the world as somebody who's racially ambiguous. Often people have assumed that I'm Hispanic, and my last name Miranda doesn't help much. But like many of you, I'm multi-ethnic. I identify as multi-ethnic Black, as my dad is Cape Verdean, and my mom has Irish, Scottish, and other European ancestry. The reason I bring this up is because the way that I've walked through the world has impacted how I see the world, as it has for all of you. About a year ago, I came before the City Council to talk about the importance of representation on boards, specifically the boards that govern organizations that serve low, moderate income people, like the Salem Housing Authority. Tonight, before you, Donika is being put forward for the second time as a board commissioner of the SHA. I cannot endorse her enough. She brings experience, lived experience as a renter, and also professional experience. And as many Black women, she is way more than qualified. So I look forward to seeing her on this board. Thank you.
Thank you. Hearings.
We have held from the last meeting a request from National Grid to install 1 jointly owned pole and relocate 2 jointly owned poles on Canal Street at the intersection of Canal Street and Kimball Road.
Those appearing in favor, please make your way to the podium.
Sabita Mahaber Sheehy, representing National Grid, 44 River Street, Beverly, Massachusetts. This is to relocate poles so that we get the clearances necessary for the new building going in.
Any councilors have questions? Seeing none. Thank you, Sabita. Anybody else appearing in favor, please make your way to the podium.
Eric Van Arum, 266 Canal Street, the residents on Canal Street LLP. Our project is in favor of the pole relocation. We're the direct abutter.
Any other questions? Anybody else appearing in favor, please make your way to the podium. Seeing none. Anybody on Zoom who's appearing in favor, please raise your hand and we'll allow you to speak. Seeing none. Anyone appearing in opposition who's in the chamber, please make your way to the podium. And anyone on Zoom, please raise your hand. Okay, Councilor Cohen.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I want to move to close the public hearing.
Councilor Cohen moves the public hearing be closed. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Councilor Cohen.
Thank you, President. I move that this is granted with one condition, and that is that we verify that there's glass clearance at one of the poles. I do want to mention that between Sabita and the development crew, there's been a lot of collaborative communication, including before the meeting, and I think came to a really good partnership in the way this is going to move forward.
Councilor Cohen moves to be granted with conditions. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries.
Thank you.
I'll note that there was another hearing scheduled initially for Hawthorne Boulevard. Due to the nature of this meeting, abutter notices were not able to be sent out 7 days ahead, so that'll be on the next meeting. Appointments and reappointments.
We have held from the last meeting the mayor's appointment of Danica Thurston Chavez of 12 Osmond Street to the Salem Housing Authority Board with a term to expire May 27th, 2027.
Councilor Cohen.
I move that this is that Danica is confirmed by roll call vote.
Councilor Cohen moves for confirmation by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I've known Danica for a while. We also had a pretty good conversation last week about the appointment. I agree with the public testimony, and it was really refreshing to hear the way she talked about how the Salem Housing Authority exists primarily for the tenants who live there, and I think she's going to be a great addition to the board.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion for confirmation by roll call vote, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Cohen,
Yes.
Councilor Davis,
Yes.
Councilor Harvey,
Yes.
Councilor Jerslow,
Yes.
Councilor Merkel,
Yes.
Councilor Marcillo,
Yes.
Councilor Watson Felt,
Yes.
and Councilor Hapworth.
Yes. Mayor's appointment of Danica Thurston Chavez to the Housing Authority Board, term to expire May 27th, 2027. We have 8 councilors voting, 8 in favor, and 3 absent. The matter carries. Councilor Cohen.
I move that we suspend the rules to enable Ms. Thurston Chavez to speak to the council.
Councilor Cohen moves to suspend the rules. Seeing no objection, Ms. Thurston Chavez.
Good evening. Thank you. Do I have to list my address? No, you know where I live. This is my first time appearing before the City Council. Thank you all so much for the opportunity. I've lived in Salem for over 9.5 years, and I've been able to get involved with the Salem Arts Festival. I was on the Voices Against Injustice board for quite some time, so I'm really excited to further entrench myself in the Salem community by being appointed to the Salem Housing Authority Board. As Jeff said, we had a really wonderful conversation. I really am there to be there on behalf of tenants. As a renter, I've had a wonderful experience, and I want to make sure that that is afforded to all in the Salem Housing Authority community. So thank you.
Thank you, Danica, and thank you, Veronica, for your public testimony. Further appointments and reappointments.
We have held from the last meeting the mayor's reappointment of the following: Carly Dwyer Naik, Public Art Commission with a term to expire 10/12/2026, and Megan Boyle to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board with a term to expire 10/26/2026.
Councilor Watson Felt.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move that these two be confirmed by roll call vote.
Councilor Watson Felt moves for confirmation by roll call vote. Under discussion.
No discussion.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion for confirmation by roll call vote, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Cohen,
Yes.
Councilor Davis,
Yes.
Councilor Harvey,
Yes.
Councilor Jerslow,
Yes.
Councilor Merkel,
Yes.
Councilor Marcillo,
Yes.
Councilor Watson Felt,
Yes.
and Councilor Hapworth.
Yes. Mayor's reappointment of Carly Dwyer Naik and to the Public Arts Commission. Somebody else, right? And Megan Boyle. I'm sorry. Yeah, we should have 2 in there, right? Megan Boyle to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board. We have 8 councilors voting, 8 in favor, and 3 absent. The matter carries. Further appointments and reappointments.
We have the mayor's appointment of Kevin Jordan of 19 Gardner Street to the Bicycling and Shared Path Advisory Committee with a term to expire February 27th, 2026.
Councilor Cohen.
I move this is held under the rules.
Councilor Cohen moves this to be held under the rules. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Communications from the mayor.
We've in order that the sum of $221,000 is hereby appropriated within the capital outlay account to cover the cost to complete the remediation restoration of Mansell Field.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Merkel moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Thank you. I think we're all familiar with the situation at Mansfield Field. I spoke with Tom Devine about this, and he said the sooner we are fully funded for this project, the better. As it says in the order, the U.S. EPA has completed about half of the remediation of the contaminated soil, and the city is responsible for completing the remediation and restoration of the park. And this is also Anna Friedman, our finance director's recommendation as well. There's additional financial information in the backup documentation for the project. And I'd also like to mention in the mayor's letter, he expressed his appreciation for the residents of the Mansell Field neighborhood as the city completes the final phase and returns the park back for public use. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion for adoption, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further communications to the mayor.
We have two orders for retirement buybacks for fire department employees, one in the amount of $49,770.12 and $38,608.04.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Merkel moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Merkel.
Thank you. I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion.
These are contractual obligations, and I want to thank James Kean and Ed Burns for their service to the Salem Fire Department.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion for adoption, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further communications to the mayor.
We have three donations, one in the amount of $3,500 to deposit in Park and Recs for a Salem Common Bench, another donation in the amount of $3,075.15 towards the Derby Street Mile Road Race, and the third donation is in the amount of $1,200 for a bench donation at the Old Salem Greens Golf Course.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move for adoption.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Thank you. I'd like to thank Ryan and Matthew Murray and John Bowen Figlio for their donations for the benches. I've enjoyed the many donations of benches around Salem myself and appreciate so many people's generosity. And also thank you to the Salem Harbor Station for their support for the Park and Rec's annual Derby Street Mile Road Race.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion for adoption, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Mayor's informational page, none. Motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Marcello.
Thank you, President. In City Council, October 17th, 2024, ordered that the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs meet with the Director of the Department of Transportation and the Commander of the Police Department Traffic Unit in both February and August of 2025 to discuss the implementation and efficacy of the new resident parking system, including October resident parking. And I move for adoption.
Councilor Marcello moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Thank you, President. So I had promised this in our OLA meetings previously, and I will say that we should make this co-posted. I want to make sure that that's in there for also. And so I was debating whether to do it now or do it next year, but I'm afraid I'm going to forget until it's too late. So we'll just carry this over to next year. And again, what I'm going to ask for from the director is the number of resident permits, the number of visitor passes as compared to previous years, the number of October permits and visitor passes. And I will also say that probably the February one will be more focused on the October resident passes because that will be done. That will just be a 1 month over by then, but we will obviously hit on the year-round stuff too. The number of permits applied for in person through the Salem Department, DOT, as opposed to residents applying online. And again, that's just to kind of get an idea of how many people have less access, I think, online to this system. The October enforcement numbers, including tows, the resident parking enforcement numbers, including tows, the number of calls to the department and the police department for enforcement, and the resulting tickets from those calls. And then any other data requested by anyone on the city council or from the department that will help us understand how the system's going.
Before we continue here, Madam City Clerk, because the motion is for adoption, do we need to vote on the amendment? It's okay just to go as, okay. Further discussion. Councillor Watson-Felt and then Councillor Cohen.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I just want to thank Councilor Marcillo for bringing this in. I'm really looking forward to the conversation. As the Ward 2 councillor, I have received many emails about this. I appreciate everyone out there and their patience and understanding that this is a transition year. One of the data points that I'll be looking for, in addition to those that were listed by Councilor Marcillo, is specifically the number of tickets and tows that were rescinded or refunded to our residents. I'd like to just have a sense of how this transition year has impacted their quality of life. I think that initial observations are that communication could have been a little bit stronger, that there's been a lot of confusion, and I am curious to see how well the tool itself has actually been working. I have been personally encouraging residents to make sure that they are screen grabbing any registrations that they take, that they do perform within the app online, to ensure that they have proof of their attempt to register, because I'm not sure that they're all consistently going through. So at any rate, I just am looking forward to this conversation, and I appreciate that it's been brought forward, and I just, again, appreciate the patience on the part of the residents who are doing their best to make this work this year. Thanks.
Councillor Cohen.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I agree about statistics about abatements, because I have a lot of October resident parking and have gotten some calls from people who claim, and I take their word for it, that they had registered online and were either towed or ticketed or both. I would also like to add something that we talked about but wasn't followed up on, is the potential for hybrid system for spontaneous visitors, because of the confusion about that and, you know, the inability for some people to be able to use the system in a timely manner. You know, if people came to their house spontaneously, what if it's more than two people, for example? What do they do? And I know, President, you had brought that up at one of the meetings, so I'm hoping that could be included in the discussion.
Any further discussion? Councillor Jerslow.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I just want to piggyback on what Councilor Watson said. All your complaints you got, I also got a lot of those too. So thank you, Councilor Marcillo, for bringing this forward, and I'm hoping by February they can rectify all the problems. But thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the motion for adoption as amended, all those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Committee reports, none. Communications from city officials, none. Petitions.
We have a petition from Attorney Joseph Carenti for the discontinuance of India Street.
Hearing ordered November 14th, 2024. Further petitions.
We have two public guides.
Councilor Marceau.
Thank you, President. I move that these be granted.
Councilor Marceau moves these be granted. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further petitions.
We have two claims.
Councilor Marceau.
Thank you, President. I move that these be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs.
Councilor Marceau moves to refer to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries. Further unfinished business.
We have a second passage of a bond order recategorizing and renaming three funds totaling $1,282,761 from the fiscal year 2025 General Fund Capital Improvement Program to the school energy efficiency improvements.
Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, President Hapworth. I move for adoption for second passage by roll call vote.
Councilor Merkel moves for adoption for second passage by roll call vote. Any discussion?
No discussion.
All right. Any further discussion? On the motion for adoption for second passage by roll call vote, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Cohen?
Yes.
Councilor Davis?
Yes.
Council Harvey,
Yes.
Council Jerslow,
Yes.
Council Merkel,
Yes.
Council Marcillo,
Yes.
Council Watson Felt,
Yes.
and Council Hapworth.
Yes. On the second passage of a bond order recategorizing and renaming three funds totaling $1,282,761 from FY 2025 to CIP for school energy efficiency improvements. We have 8 councilors voting, 8 in favor and 3 absent. The matter carries. Who wants to be Councilor Prosnowski tonight? Councilor Morcello.
Thank you, President. Move for adjournment.
Councilor Morcello moves for adjournment. All those in favor? Any opposed? Matter carries.